samsara. Now, what samsara is, it's associated with karma and the transmigration of the soul. What it is the title, the name of this endless process of life, death, and rebirth. Now, a lot of students, when they first encounter the idea of the transmigration of the soul and samsara, they say, well, gosh, why is this bad? You know, having an endless amount of lives, that's kind of a good thing, Mr. K, right? Well, if you think it is, it's you really don't have full self-awareness. Because if you stop back to think about, say for example, when you went through puberty, right? Just stop and think about what that was like. Now you're on the other side of puberty. In other words, you made it through. But you might not remember, if you sit down and reflect upon it, it was agonizing. How just awful it was. All those hormones suddenly being turned on and flooding through your body, and your body was changing and you didn't know how to react to it, and your mind was changing and it didn't know how to react to your body, and you were just bonkers and you just said some monumentally stupid things to your parents, and your parents, you know, gritted their teeth and they just said, just let me get through this day, let me get through this year, let me get this child through the other side of this, and it's going to be okay, right? Think about that. And plus, as we grow old, like me, then you start to have family members and friends die, right? Which is really heartbreaking and really sad. And as we age, not only do we get big foreheads, but our bodies start to wear down. Like I have arthritis in both knees, and I'm starting to get carpal tunnel in my hands. I got a bad hip, and I'm not even that old. And it's just, there's some days where it's painful getting up and, you know, walking around, taking those first steps out of bed. Life, there's a lot of suffering in life. So what we want to do is we want to break samsara. And how we break samsara is we have to turn away from what? Maya. Maya is bad. And generate good karma by doing good actions. So then, what that will do is help us to move up, right? This cycle of life, death, and rebirth until, keep your fingers crossed, you can experience moksha. This is pronounced moksha. What moksha literally means, it literally means release or liberation. And you might be asking to yourself, well, what is being released? What is being liberated? And that's two things. Number one, you are being released from samsara. So then what happens, right? If you recognize the ignorance in so much of life, and so much of life is Maya, and you're able to turn away from that and generate good karma, then what can happen is that your Atman is released from samsara. It is liberated. And then, at death, your Atman returns and is reunited with Brahman. So in other words, remember, right, Atman, that's like the equivalent of the soul. So your soul is released from your body and is returned and it is reunited with Brahman, the oversoul. And if you stop to think about it, being joined with the ultimate, being joined with the holy, the absolute, that certainly is what everyone's goal in life is to be reunited with that. That's blessedness. That's beatitude. That is moksha. Now, the other term is dharma. Dharma means duty and righteousness. right? If you think about duty, what does that mean? That's doing what you're supposed to do. That means that we should turn away from Maya. That we should, instead of doing that, we should be focusing on doing good things to generate good karma. Because if we stick with dharma, doing our duty, it will help to uphold the cosmic order of things by generating more positive karma than negative karma. Plus, it also deals with social fabric, with society. So all of those great terms. So now we just mentioned society. So let's get back into the PowerPoint and look at how Hindu society is structured. Hindu society, much of Indian society, is governed by what's called the caste system. So we're addressing the question, how should we live in this world? Now, Hinduism is a tribal faith. What that means is that if your mother was Hindu, then you are a Hindu. Even if, say, for example, you go to a different country and you adopt a different faith, you're still going to be Hindu and then dash whatever. So say, for example, if your mom's Hindu and then you come to America and you become a Christian, you'd be a Hindu Christian because it never goes away. That's what I mean by a tribal faith. Now, birth determines varna or caste, as well as jatis or birth group. And again, this is based upon birth. And a lot of people wonder, where does this come from? And the answer is Hindu scriptures. There's lots of different Hindu scriptures, and this idea of the caste system comes from Hindu scripture. Now, when we look at these different castes, what we're supposed to do is envision a person, right? So the head, the top, would represent the priests. Then the arms of a person would represent the warriors or the rulers, right? Then the torso would be the skilled workers or traders. And then the legs would be unskilled. Then at the bottom, there are those people who don't have a caste. They are the outcasts. That's where the word outcast comes from. And they're commonly referred to as the untouchables. Now, what the caste system does is that it determines the privileges that are afforded the different levels of society based upon birth. And the best way to understand the caste system in India is to think about in America. Say, for example, if you are born and you have a last name like Kennedy or Bush or Trump, right? If you have a last name then that fits in with the hierarchy of American society, you are on easy street for your life unless you do something really monumentally stupid. And now here's something that's important. There's nothing that you did to earn the privileges that are afforded to you. Yeah. And that's like the caste system. In other words, the people who are born to a high caste, there's nothing that they did to earn that. That was just birth. It was just birth. Now, if you reflect upon samsara, right, and karma, all that, if, say, for example, you're a skilled worker and you do some really bad things in that life, then your next life, guess what you can come as? An untouchable. Someone who does menial labor, right? Then if you lead a really good life, then you can start to work your way up the caste system. Now, marriages in Hinduism, a lot of them are prearranged by the parents. It's not true in all marriages, but many marriages are prearranged by the parents. And people in the West, when they hear this, they go, my mom and my dad will determine who I'm going to marry? Nuh-uh. And the answer is, well, if you stop to think about it, there's two people who know you better than you know yourself. And those two people are your mom and your dad. So what they would do is they would get together with other people in the same caste as you and arrange your marriage. And then you would meet your husband or your wife for the first time shortly before your marriage. Now, what's happening in our global age to the caste system? The caste system has officially been outlawed. That means that it's illegal in India to discriminate based upon caste. But it still happens, just like in the American South, people still discriminate based upon race. Exactly. So it still exists as a means of discrimination and class. And the caste system, a lot of people say, wow, this is just really, really strange. Why do they do this? And the answer is it's part of Dharma. It's part of their duty. It comes from Scripture. So to turn away from the caste system and not go along with the prearranged marriage, this would be in essence going against Hindu scripture, which is something that's really, really tough to do. You could think about it in your own life if you're a religious person to turn against the scripture of your faith. So this is how we should live in the world if we're a Hindu, the caste system.